Are you priced out of Toronto's housing market? Well, Alberta wants you to go west. I'm Michael Ouzas. I'm a realtor in the Greater Toronto Area, and in this video, we're going to go through a campaign where Alberta is trying to recruit home buyers from Toronto. Before we get started, if you could take a moment to throw a comment down below on if you would sacrifice living in Toronto to move out west. If you ever want to book in a call with me to discuss different options in the city of Toronto, I am more than happy to answer any questions. There's a link to my calendar down below. So let's jump to this article from CBC, and it says, price out of Toronto's housing market, Alberta wants you to turn your eyes west. It also goes to show a picture of a person who packed up his belongings in February and drove to Alberta. In a bid to encourage more GTA residents to do the same, Alberta has unveiled a campaign that touts the province's low housing prices and high incomes. The title of the campaign is called Alberta is Calling. We've got Canada's lowest taxes, lowest cost of living, plus the highest wages and incomes, and lots of big opportunity. That's from the Alberta Premier Jason Kenney, who said that in a video on Twitter. The campaign touts slightly higher weekly earnings in Alberta over those in Ontario, averaging $1,245 compared to $1,186 respectively. While the average income is comparable, there's a significant difference when it comes to real estate. The average cost for a detached home in Edmonton is $490,000 and in Calgary $700,000, whereas in Toronto it's $1.4 million. You can check out that video on Twitter. So I find it really interesting how everyone is using Toronto as the benchmark for Canada and trying to lure people away from the city based on home prices, not always based on everything else. It's always coming down to real estate. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. Let's flip over to the MLS Home Price Index, and I took the benchmark price of both Alberta and the Greater Toronto Area. And you can see Greater Toronto is in baby blue and Alberta is in red. One thing to note, if we go back 10 years in August 2012, the Greater Toronto Area composite price was $476,300, whereas in Alberta, it was $356,000. So you're only talking about $125,000 difference from Alberta to the Greater Toronto Area. I didn't do Calgary or Edmonton specifically, but we'll just use these two as a comparable. This is where both markets differ very much. So if you purchased that property in Alberta back in August 2012, today, 10 years later, that same property would be worth somewhere around $470,000. Not too bad of an increase of about $115,000, but let's take a look at what that same property would have got you in Toronto. If you paid $476,000 for a property in Toronto back in 2012, that same property would be up, give or take, around $750,000. If it was March this year, you'd be talking around $1,300,000. Now, I'm assuming that in the article, they're using the actual Toronto price for a home because the average price from August in the Greater Toronto Area was just over $1.1 million. So as you can see in these markets, quite a big difference on that same property over time. So as you can see, quite a big difference in that same property even though they started at about $115,000 difference. Over time, Toronto has definitely come out significantly ahead. A lot goes into that, and mostly because Alberta is a oil and energy based province. So as those sectors tend to do better, the province requires more and more workers to come and fulfill the needs for those employers. Whereas Toronto is known for its business, finance, art, culture, and tech. We have definitely come full strides in tech in the last few years, ranking one of the top tech industries in North America. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts about comparing Toronto to Alberta when it comes to housing. Would you go and move to Alberta for a lesser priced home? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, if you ever have any questions about moving to Toronto or anything about the market here in Toronto, book in a call with me down below. You can hit that like and subscribe button and follow me on all social media at Michael Ouzas Real Estate.